The subject of today is related to something that happens to us every single night, but for some mysterious reason, it's really hard for us to remember. Because of this, some people just ignore whatever's happening and they don't pay attention to it, thinking that it's unimportant or even meaningless. But the truth of the matter is that dreams play a really fundamental role in our mental stability on a daily basis. So today I'm going to try to highlight the most important and basic properties of how the process of dreaming works following the Freudian approach. So, like you said, this guy right here is Mr. Freud. Quite a interesting fella. He was the one who started talking about dreams in a serious way. But at the same time, you got to be careful with Freud because sometimes he sounds more like an artist than a scientist. He's always really dense in his writings and just taking to many different places and being really subjective about what he's trying to say. So there's certain things that I'm going to be leaving behind in this speech because they're either too complicated or sometimes a little too weird because Mr. Freud likes to think a lot about things like that. So whenever you dream, he's like, if you were seeing a woman like this one, you're probably going to be dreaming about something like this just because it's related in a weird way. And if you see a guy like this one, you're only going to be dreaming about this. So like, really, Freud? I mean, it makes sense, but like, what's up with this thing that you're holding in your hand? So, leaving those things behind and focusing on what's a little more like simple, but equally interesting, I'm going to be talking about three main things. Where do dreams come from? Why are they so random? And what's the purpose? Sorry, that's great. So, for the first point, we got to understand first that the main stimulus for dreams to happen is whatever you experience after the last time you woke up. So you wake up and you start your day and your brain gets all this information from everything that surrounds you. And you just store it, and when you go to sleep, your brain is like eager to reprocess the whole thing again. So when you go to bed and you start dreaming, your brain is like, okay, let's just use all this information and create a small story. But Freud and several other psychologists don't consider dreams as a creative process. What actually happens is after being inspired by whatever you saw or experienced in the day, your brain is going to grab previous memories that you gathered throughout your entire life to recreate whatever you saw during the day. Those things that comes from the past are usually coming from childhood, because being the brain kind of a lazy organ, it tries to get whatever it's like easier or it's standing out the most in this like humongous pool of stuff that you have stored in there. So when you're a little kid, that's when you, by Freud, actually get the most significant and primary traumas or experiences. So the brain tends to go back a lot to your early childhood, also because your brain is full of images when you're a little kid. It's one of the most easier things to process when you're a child. And images is the main way for dreams to communicate with you. You never dream about how things smell, how things taste, how things feel in your skin. It's all about just images. And that's the main way your dream is going to try to make a message across. So yeah, when the dream is trying to recreate this entire thing that you've experienced during the day, this is what's going to happen. Memories from the past, especially from your childhood, plus the events of the day, is going to result in the dream. But then again, why is the brain so weird when it's trying to recreate this entire thing? Why is it so random? One of the basic explanations, or the most simple one by Freud, he uses it in one of his books actually, is that what if I tell you right now to grab a blank piece of paper and a pencil, sit in front of the TV, listen to a political speech, and try to draw whatever you felt or thought about it? It's really going to be pretty hard if you don't have the ability to write stuff down. Just images are way too weird and abstract for it to like represent the stuff you're listening to directly. So the brain goes through the same stress and the same type of problem. Like, how the hell am I going to represent the fact that I felt sad at the end of the day? So it's probably going to bring things from your childhood when your dad didn't give you candy, when you went to the store and you feel really sad. They're probably going to be relating that to the fact that you got an F in your speech. So, you know what I mean? It's just like, even if things are not heavily related, even if there's just a tiny thing that makes you think about other things, your brain is just going to grab all of that and be just throwing stuff at you. Another way to explain why dreams are pretty random, it's something that neurologists discovered a long time ago. They say that brain cells grow towards each other whenever they're handling the same type of information, so it can pass through a lot faster. So if you're thinking about your grandmother, and that's the brain cell that represents your grandmother, it's going to be related to the word Emily, because that's the name of your grandmother. But at the same time, Emily happens to be the name of your favorite thrash metal band. So it's also going to be connected to that. And at the same time, when you're listening to this music, it makes you feel good. So it makes you think about whenever you had good times. So the cell, the brain cell that represents good times will also be related, again, to your grandmother's house, because you remember when you used to go there as a kid and also have good times. So if you go to a concert from this imaginary band called Emily right there, and you had an awesome time, by the end of the night you're going to go to bed, and then you're probably going to dream about yourself being in the concert, but you're going to see your grandmother singing your favorite tune. And you're going to be like, oh, this is kind of weird, but before you try to realize what is actually going on, you're going to appear at your grandma's house all of a sudden, with apparent no reason. But there's a relationship between those two. And there will also be a relationship with you remembering that you used to help your grandma with little tasks in the house. And you're going to see yourself taking the trash outside, because the word trash sounds like the other one up there. So it's just, your brain can jump to so many different places. It makes sense for your subconscious, not for the conscious so much. But that's kind of like how your brain tries to build the information that you use to represent whatever you felt or saw during the day. Now, what's the purpose of all of this? Most psychologists never agreed on this last point, but Freud, for example, coined a pretty interesting term, that it's infant dreams. For him, dreams, as this for little kids especially, are a way for you to end your day in a good way. He calls this types of dream infant dreams because little kids have them all the time. Like I said before, when you're with your dad and you're, say, 5 years old, and you're walking around and you ask for candy and your dad says, no, you're not going to get it, and you feel really bad, you're probably going to go to sleep and get the candy in your dreams. So the next day you wake up and you feel good, and you're like, yeah, I'm ready to start a new day. Now I got my candy. In an artificial way, but still, it works for your brain. It makes you feel really good. Now, when you grow up, your mind starts getting a little bit more complex, obviously, and your problems are not just about getting you candy or not. So infant dreams kind of disappear, but they're still there. So you get a type of dreams that it's not really labeled by Freud, and I haven't found any other psychologist who's done that, but they're actually a way to rethink of what you felt during the day. It's just your brain saying, this is what I thought about what you saw, this is what I believed you should do regarding this and that. It's so difficult to understand what your brain is trying to say that it just seems like a random pool of information. But the dreams are not really a good way, a good thing all the time, because sometimes we get weird and horrible nightmares. And most of the people went against Freud and a lot of our psychologists saying, so if nightmares exist, how the hell is that our brain trying to be good with us and trying to end the day in a good way? But in a way, our brain also works as an alarm mechanism. So it's going like, there's something wrong right now and you need to fix it. That's why whenever you have a nightmare, you're not trying to sleep, you're trying to wake up, because your brain is saying, wake up, you need to do this, this, and that, because you're traumatized by this, or you're scared of this, or you're scared of that. So wake up and fix it right now. But then again, it's so strange that it's really hard to interpret. Yeah, it's pretty hard to remember your dreams, but the next time you go to sleep, a really good way to try to do it is just to relax and try to get all of your thoughts away from your head. And when you wake up, the first thing you gotta do is start thinking about what you dreamt. Otherwise, everything is just gonna go away. And yeah, a lot of psychologists agree that dreams are a very interesting way to know a little bit about yourself. Because like I said in the beginning, it's not just creating random information. It's always from stuff that happened before. So it's always saying, this is how you are. This is how you think about stuff in a subconscious level. So it's pretty interesting.